They say hindsight is 20/20, but if I'm honest, I should have seen it coming long before the cracks began to show. My name's Chris, and for the last 10 years, I thought I was building a solid life with my wife, Amanda. We had a nice house in the suburbs, a dog named Cooper, and what I thought was a happy marriage. But all it took was one night to unravel everything. It started with a simple text. "Hey, babe, I'll be home late tonight. Going to party with some friends from work. Don't wait up. I've been under the weather that week." Nothing serious. Just the kind of bug that leaves you feeling like a wrung-out towel, so I didn't think much of it. Amanda deserved a night out. She'd been working long hours at the law firm, and if she needed to let loose, who was I to stop her? I replied with a thumbs-up emoji and went back to binging some show on Netflix. It was all so normal. But looking back, there were signs even before that night. The sudden, almost obsessive attention she'd started paying to her appearance. The late nights at work. The way she'd been glued to her phone, smiling at messages she never bothered to share with me. I brushed it all off, telling myself I was overthinking things. Amanda loved me. I had nothing to worry about. Or so I thought. She didn't come home until nearly 3 a.m. I woke up to the sound of the garage door opening, followed by her footsteps padding softly through the house. I waited, pretending to still be asleep, but I couldn't help noticing the faint smell of perfume and something else, something masculine, lingering in the air as she slipped into bed beside me. The next morning, I asked her how the party was. "It was fun," she said, her tone casual, almost dismissive. "Just the usual crowd." She didn't elaborate, and I didn't press. I should have pressed. A week went by, and things seemed normal on the surface, but something was gnawing at me. Amanda was distant, not in an obvious way, but enough that I could feel it. She wasn't cold or hostile, just distracted, like her mind was somewhere else. It all came to a head when I was cleaning out the car one afternoon. Amanda had left her work tote in the back seat, and as I reached to grab it, something fell out, a small white envelope. I picked it up, my heart sinking as I read the label. It was from a boutique hotel downtown, dated the night of the party. I stared at it for what felt like an eternity before finally opening it. Inside was a handwritten note. "Last night was unforgettable. Until next time, Jay." My hands trembled as I folded the note and stuffed it back into the envelope. My mind raced, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe Jay was a friend from work. But deep down, I knew better. There was no innocent explanation for this. I didn't say anything to Amanda right away. Instead, I started paying closer attention, where she went, who she texted, how she behaved when she thought I wasn't looking. The late-night showers, the sudden reluctance to let me touch her phone, the way she seemed lighter, like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. All of it pointed to one thing. I needed proof. Cold, hard proof. That's when I decided to check her phone. It wasn't hard. She'd been using the same passcode for years. Late one night, after she'd fallen asleep, I slipped her phone off the nightstand and went to the bathroom, locking the door behind me. Her text messages told me everything I needed to know. "Jay, can't stop thinking about you. When can I see you again? Amanda, soon. I'll make up an excuse. I need you." The last message hit me like a punch to the gut. Amanda needed me once too, or so I thought. My mind flashed back to the early days of our relationship, back when we couldn't keep our hands off each other. When did things change? When did I stop being enough for her? I scrolled further, finding photos, selfies of them together at the party, her in that little black dress I used to love, pressed up against him like I wasn't even a factor. His name was Jake, and judging by his profile picture, he was younger, taller, and probably wealthier than me. A coworker? A client? I didn't know, and at that moment, I didn't care. I went back to bed that night, lying stiff as a board beside her, my mind a whirlwind of rage, betrayal, and despair. I couldn't confront her, not yet. I needed time to think, to plan, because one thing was certain, I wasn't going to let her walk all over me. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I didn't confront Amanda the next day or the day after that. Instead, I let the knowledge sit inside me, festering. Every glance she gave me, every casual touch, every word she spoke, it all felt like a lie. I didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal itself or the fact that she thought I was too blind to see it. But I wasn't blind anymore. The following week, Amanda mentioned another work dinner. She said it offhandedly, not even looking up from her phone as she told me. It might run late, so don't wait up, she added, already distracted by whatever was on her screen. I didn't need to guess who she was texting. That's fine, I said, keeping my voice calm. I've got some things to catch up on here anyway. She barely nodded, brushing past me as she headed upstairs. This was my chance. When Amanda left that evening, I was ready. I'd installed a GPS tracker on her car earlier in the week, a small device hidden under the rear bumper. The app on my phone showed her heading downtown, just like I'd suspected. She parked near the same boutique hotel from before, and my chest tightened. This wasn't a coincidence. She wasn't going to work dinner. I grabbed my keys and followed, keeping a safe distance. By the time I arrived, she was already inside. I sat in my car, staring at the glowing hotel sign, trying to summon the courage to go in. After about 20 minutes, the elevator doors opened, and there she was with him, Jake. They didn't see me as they crossed the lobby. She was laughing at something he said, her hand resting on his arm like it was the most natural thing in the world. He handed the concierge her room key, and they disappeared into the elevator. I felt like I was going to be sick. I didn't go inside. Not yet. Instead, I sat in my car, seething. The hotel's parking lot was mostly empty, so I got out and walked her car. A small, petty part of me wanted to key it to let out some of the anger boiling inside me. But I had a better idea. I pulled out the spare recorder I'd brought with me, a tiny device I'd purchased online, and slipped it under the driver's seat. I didn't know how long they'd be up there, but if they talked about anything on the drive home, I wanted to hear it. Then I went back to my car and waited. 2 hours later, Amanda reappeared, her hair slightly disheveled, her cheeks flushed. Jake walked her to her car, giving her a kiss on the cheek before heading to his own vehicle. She didn't even glance around to see if anyone was watching. She drove off, and I followed at a distance, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. When she got home, she acted like nothing had happened. "Hey," she said casually, kicking off her heels by the door. Dinner went a little long. "I'm exhausted." I forced a smile, masking the rage simmering just beneath the surface. "Yeah? Busy night?" "You could say that," she replied, heading upstairs to shower. The nerve. After she fell asleep that night, I retrieved the recorder from her car and plugged it into my laptop. The audio was clear, too clear. "Jake, you think he suspects anything?" "Amanda." Laughing, Chris? "No, he's clueless. I've got him wrapped around my finger." "Jake, good. I don't want to deal with any drama." "Amanda, you won't. Trust me." The rest of the conversation was worse. They talked about their plans for the next weekend, about how freeing it felt to be with each other. I stopped listening after that. I didn't need to hear more. I had all the proof I needed. But proof wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling. I wanted her to see how it felt to be betrayed, blindsided, discarded like an afterthought. I started planning my revenge. The realization that Amanda had no intention of stopping her affair lit a fire inside me. Her lies, her disrespect, it was as if she thought I was too weak to do anything about it. But she underestimated me. I wasn't going to yell or beg for answers. No, I was going to hit her where it hurt. The first step was laying the groundwork. Amanda had another work dinner coming up the following Saturday, and I knew exactly what that meant. I told her I had plans to meet up with some old friends that night, something she barely acknowledged. "Have fun," she said absently, scrolling through her phone. "Oh, I will," I replied, hiding my smirk. While Amanda was busy planning her evening with Jake, I was preparing for mine. I installed hidden cameras in the living room, kitchen, and bedroom, discreetly tucked into vents and bookshelves. I wanted everything documented. I also reached out to her best friend, Kelly. If there was one person Amanda had been confiding in, it was her. I called her under the guise of needing advice. "Kelly, I don't know how to say this, but I think something's going on with Amanda," I said, feigning vulnerability. There was a pause on the other end. "What do you mean?" she asked cautiously. I sighed. "She's been distant lately, working late, acting different. I don't know. Do you think she could be seeing someone else?" Kelly hesitated, and I knew I had her. "I'm not saying anything for sure," she finally said, her tone guarded. "But maybe you should talk to her." "Oh, I will," I assured her. I just needed to hear it from someone else. Kelly's reluctance told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't denying it. The day of Amanda's work dinner arrived, and I played my part perfectly. I kissed her goodbye, wished her a good evening, and left the house as if I had plans of my own. In reality, I circled the block and parked a few streets away, waiting for the tracker on her car to confirm her destination. Sure enough, she drove straight to Jake's place. I wasn't going to follow her this time. I didn't need to. Instead, I drove back home and got to work. While Amanda spent the night with Jake, I prepared her reckoning. I compiled every piece of evidence. I'd collected the texts, the audio recordings, the footage from the cameras. I burned everything onto a USB drive, labeling it simply Amanda's Secrets. I also printed a few of the more damning photos, like the one of her and Jake at the hotel lobby, and placed them in an envelope. Next, I wrote a letter. Dear Amanda, I thought we had a life together, a partnership. Clearly, I was wrong. You betrayed me in every way possible, and now it's time for you to face the consequences. By the time you read this, you'll know exactly what I've done. Chris, I placed the letter and the USB drive in her work bag, knowing she'd find them the next morning. When Amanda finally came home, it was past midnight. She tried to sneak in quietly, but I was waiting in the living room, pretending to be engrossed in a movie. Hey, she said, her voice hesitant. Hey, I replied casually, not looking at her. How was your night? She asked, her tone careful. Fine, I said, keeping my face neutral. Yours? Good. Just dinner and drinks. She lied effortlessly. I nodded, letting her think she'd gotten away with it again. The next morning, I made sure to be out of the house before she woke up. I couldn't bear to watch her find the envelope or hear her excuses. Instead, I went to a coffee shop and waited for her inevitable call. It came around 9 a.m. Chris, she said, her voice shaking. What is this? You know exactly what it is, I replied calmly. How did you? She trailed off, her panic palpable. I've known for weeks, Amanda. I've seen the texts, the photos. I've heard the recordings. Don't bother denying it. There was a long silence on the other end. Finally, she whispered, I'm so sorry. Save it, I said coldly. We're done. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. Chris, please. I hung up, cutting her off mid-sentence. But I wasn't finished. The final step was letting Jake know what kind of woman he'd been sneaking around with. I sent him a message with a picture of Amanda's letter and a simple note. She's all yours now. Good luck. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The days following Amanda's discovery were a blur of silence and chaos. She tried calling and texting me, each message more desperate than the last, but I didn't respond. What was there to say? I had given her everything, and she threw it away for cheap thrills with a man who wasn't even half the husband I had been. I stayed at a friend's place to avoid her inevitable attempts to confront me. I needed space to think and to steel myself for what was coming next. Amanda, on the other hand, had no idea how deep this was about to cut. The first crack in her perfect little world came Monday morning when she walked in her office to find her colleagues unusually quiet. I'd sent the USB drive complete with her texts, photos, and videos to her boss, Mr. Langston, along with a short note. You might want to reconsider who you're entrusting with company secrets. Sure, it was petty, but I wasn't about to let her carry on like nothing had happened. According to a mutual acquaintance who worked at the firm, Amanda was immediately pulled into a meeting with HR. By lunchtime, she was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Apparently, the firm didn't take kindly to employees conducting affairs with clients or using work trips as cover for personal rendezvous. When I heard the news, I couldn't help but feel a pang of satisfaction. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. Amanda had lied to me, humiliated me, and now she was reaping what she'd sown. But Amanda wasn't the only one feeling the heat. Jake got his fair share of fallout, too. Emily, his girlfriend, had gone nuclear after seeing the evidence I'd sent her. She'd plastered their affair all over social media, tagging him in every damning post. Within hours, their friends, family, and coworkers knew exactly what kind of man Jake was. Emily even reached out to his boss, sharing screenshots of Amanda and Jake's texts. Unlike Amanda, Jake didn't have the luxury of an investigation. He was fired on the spot. I watched the drama unfold online, each new update lighting a fire of grim satisfaction inside me. They both thought they could get away with it, but now they were facing the consequences head-on. Amanda finally cornered me 3 days after everything blew up. I come home to grab a few more things, thinking she'd be at work. Instead, she was waiting for me in the living room, her face pale and tears streaked. "Chris," she said, her voice cracking. "Please, can we talk?" I sighed, setting my bag down. "What do you want, Amanda?" "I'm sorry," she blurted, stepping closer. "I know I've hurt you. I know I've destroyed everything, but I need you to know it didn't mean anything. I made a mistake." I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. "A mistake? That's what you call months of sneaking around? Of lying to my face?" She flinched, but pressed on. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely, Chris. You've been so distant lately. Don't you dare put this on me," I snapped, cutting her off. "I gave you everything, Amanda. A home, love, trust. And you threw it all away for some cheap fling with Jake." Her lip trembled, and tears spilled down her cheeks. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I love you. I'll do anything to fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever it takes." I stared at her for a long moment, searching for even a shred of the woman I'd fallen in love with all those years ago. But all I saw was a stranger, a selfish, reckless stranger who destroyed everything we'd built. "It's too late," I said, finally, my voice cold. "You made your choice, Amanda. Now you have to live with it." I left her there, sobbing on the couch, and headed straight to my lawyer's office. The divorce papers were already in motion, but I wanted to make sure there'd be no loose ends. "Make it clean," I told him. "She doesn't deserve a damn thing." The final blow came when I sold the house. I didn't need the constant reminder of her betrayal, so I put it on the market and accepted an offer within days. Amanda begged me to reconsider, but I was done. "You want a new life," I told her. "Now you've got one." That night, I got a message from Emily. "Emily, thanks for giving me the truth. I'm sorry you had to go through this, but I'm glad we both know who they really are." "Yeah, me too." We ended up grabbing coffee a few days later, just two people trying to make sense of the chaos their partners had created. There was no spark, no romance, but there was understanding. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel so alone. Divorces are messy. Even the clean ones, like mine, are filled with paperwork, lawyers, and endless reminders of what you lost. But as the days turned into weeks, I started to feel the weight lifting. The house was sold, my lawyer had finalized the settlement, and Amanda was officially out of my life. What did she get? Practically nothing. The evidence I'd collected left no room for negotiation, and the judge sided with me on nearly every point. She kept her car and her personal belongings, but that was it. The house, the savings, the life we'd built together was all gone. She called a few more times, leaving tearful voicemails about how sorry she was and how she wanted to make things right. I didn't bother responding. Some things can't be fixed, and even if they could, I didn't want them anymore. Jake, too, was dealing with his fair share of fallout. After Emily's scorched earth social media campaign, his reputation was in shambles. Friends turned their backs on him, and from what I heard, his family wasn't too thrilled either. Last I checked, he was working odd jobs to make ends meet. Amanda's choices hadn't just ruined our marriage, they'd wrecked his life too. It was poetic in a way. They'd chased after a fleeting moment of passion and ended up with nothing but ashes. For me, the hardest part wasn't the anger or the betrayal. It was the silence. The quiet moments when I was alone with my thoughts, replaying every memory of Amanda, wondering how I could have missed the signs. It wasn't just about what she'd done. It was about what it said about me. Had I been blind, naive, too trusting? But over time, those questions stopped haunting me. I realized that her actions weren't a reflection of me. They were a reflection of her. Her insecurities, her selfishness, her inability to value what we had. I started focusing on myself for the first time in years. I took up running, something I hadn't done since college, and found solace in the rhythm of my feet hitting the pavement. I reconnected with old friends, people I drifted away from during my marriage, and even joined a local hiking group. And then there was Emily. Our coffee meetups became a regular thing, first weekly, then every few days. At first, we bonded over our shared experiences, swapping stories about the mess our exes had left behind. But slowly, the conversations shifted. We talked about our jobs, our families, our plans for the future. Emily was nothing like Amanda. She was grounded, sharp-witted, and unafraid to call me out when I started wallowing in self-pity. She wasn't just a reminder that life goes on. She was proof that it could be better. One night, after we'd spent hours talking in her kitchen, she looked at me with a soft smile. She said, "I think we both deserve a fresh start." I nodded, feeling something I hadn't felt in months, hope. Amanda reached out one final time a few months later. She sent an email, long and rambling, apologizing for everything and asking if there was any chance of reconciliation. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "Amanda, I appreciate the apology, but there's nothing left to reconcile. I hope you find what you're looking for, but it's not with me. Please don't contact me again. Chris." And with that, I closed the chapter on Amanda for good. Life isn't perfect now, but it's better. I've learned to trust myself again, to set boundaries and recognize my worth. Emily and I are taking things slow, enjoying each other's company without rushing into anything. Every now and then, I think about what happened, not with anger or regret, but with clarity. Amanda thought she'd found a new passion, but all she discovered was how fragile her choices really were. Me, I found something better. I found freedom.